Okay, this is part 2 of All Secrets of Halloween Horror Nights 22 Revealed. I didn't actually reveal anything in the first video because I was still explaining exactly how it wasn't a joke last year. It wasn't a joke at all when I posted those videos about Halloween Horror Nights 21 and how the event had changed from their original concept, which was real. The actual original concept that I gave last year was not an April Fool's joke. And I explained how that was reworked and how it was reworked and why it changed to what we saw last September and October. And I was explaining about, if you recall, there was going to be a ritual sacrifice in the Mel's Diner area, a show where you had the 3 demon faces of fear, correct? Originally their plan was to have 3 different ceremonies, one for each of the 3 fears, you see. The extreme fear, which was something like a beast, the explicit fear, which was a beautiful female, and the intense fear, which was going to be similar to the bodybuilder fear that we saw before. So they had these 3 faces of fear, and they would have different rituals. Well, they removed the icons, because they couldn't use them anyway, and they removed the sacrifice concept, but they kept the music performance that would lead up to the ritual and the 3 forms that they originally were going to use. They took out the more explicit costuming, and this became Death Drums. That's why we had the 3 shows for Death Drums. The first one, the pop show, was going to be for the intense fear. The zombie show was for the extreme fear, and the explicit fear was going to have the show we called Rock. That's how that got changed up into the Death Drum show. That's where it originally came from. So you see how the original concepts they used that I talked about last year were actually done in a slightly changed way. Of course, they had to come up with new scare zones as well. So they very quickly made up some scare zones. And I have to hand it to them. They did some very minimalist scare zones that they could do very quickly without having to do a lot of work. At the same time, very effective. Night Maze, Canyon of Lost Souls, and the Prime, the Grown Evil scare zones. These 3 were done up very quickly and were actually quite effective. The Acid Assault in the New York area was actually something they're going to do a few years from now. They decided to go ahead and do that this last year instead. As a result, some of those special projection effects were not fully developed and were not as good as they should or could have been, I'm afraid. But, you know, what can you say? They did their best. So that's why we saw the event the way it was last year. They didn't have an icon yet, of course, because they weren't going to do the explicit and extreme fear, obviously. They had to drop the explicit idea, no fear with breasts. But marketing came up with the idea for Lady Luck for 21. Well, they kept the original idea of having a beautiful, seductive female and a more bestial form like they were going to have with the multiple fears. And they had that, 2 forms of the same icon instead of 3. So they did keep some of their concepts when they had the icon of Lady Luck. So you see how it actually was switched around a little bit, tweaked, and they managed to come up with an event that was originally going to be what I described last year. So yes, it wasn't a joke. What I told you last year was true at that time, but it changed, and largely because of you guys and your response to my videos. Now, this year, once again, the same guy, who I cannot reveal, has filled me in again about what's going on this year for Halloween Horror Nights 22, and I can reveal to you at last the full secrets. Well, not the full secrets. He did give me one condition. I can't reveal everything. I have to leave a few things to be surprises for you because I don't want to spoil everything. But he did give me enough information that I can tell you what you're going to see for Halloween Horror Nights 22. Aren't you excited? And this isn't a joke. This is for real. Okay? First of all, the rumor that has been flying around recently about the event, the biggest rumor so far this year, the past few months, is based on the fact that there has been construction going on at Universal Studios Florida. They closed the Jaws ride, and they're going to be putting in a new attraction there, and all of Amity is going to become a new attraction that I know exactly what it's going to be, but I really shouldn't tell you. But I will say it'll be an absolutely magical attraction, and you can bank on that. Enough of that. Okay, now, because because Jaws is closed, that leaves a venue, a place, a location for a house empty. I mean, they can't use that location for a house anymore. And people thought, well, gee, how are they going to do 8 houses if they don't have Jaws? Furthermore, some of you may not be aware of this, but this is true. Very soon, they're going to put up a barricade right by the disaster attraction. And that barricade is going to close off all of Amity from that side. They're going to close it off also so you cross the bridge, you won't be able to go over to Amity. Amity's going to be closed off completely. Okay? It's going to be a dead end when you try to get there. The only way you can reach the Fear Factor Auditorium, where Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure has been performed for the past few years, is by that narrow little path that goes up past Men in Black. Now, can you imagine what a total fustercluck it would be for anybody who tried to go in and out of Bill and Ted, and what the crowd control is going to be like? The huge crowds that go in and out of that show through that little narrow, and that's the only space, that only access? For those reasons, a lot of people have been speculating the past couple of months that this year, maybe because it's 22/22, maybe this year, like they did back in 2004, they'll have the event both in portions of Universal Studios Florida and portions of Islands of Adventure with a 2-part concept for the first time since 2004. Wow, 8 years ago, they're going to bring back the 2 parks. And I can tell you right now, I can reveal to you that this rumor is absolutely false. It's not going to be a 2-park event this year. Sorry, that rumor is wrong. Hope that doesn't upset people who really wanted that to happen. No, the event will only be at 1 park. Universal Studios Florida is not the park. That's right. For the first time since 2005, the entire event of Halloween Horror Nights will be at Islands of Adventure, and only at Islands of Adventure. Now, I can already hear some of you out there going, oh, well, Dr. Jimmy, how can that be? We know they have all kinds of logistical and technical problems, and that's why they haven't had it at IOA for years. For example, they can't use Seuss Landing at all, because the widow of Dr. Seuss, Mrs. Giesel, has forbidden the legacy of Dr. Seuss from being tainted with Halloween Horror Nights. And that's why every time the event was ever held at IOA, Seuss Landing was simply filled with fog, with a couple of Grinches lurking about in the fog, maybe, if anything. And you know what? That's what you'll see this year, too, in Seuss Landing. Except they might add a Lorax and maybe a Onceler in order to help promote the movie. Although the movie's doing damn fine without it, I think, but they might do that. No, the big concern, though, is the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. It's been widely reported by many people, including myself, I must admit, that J.K. Rowling has forbidden the Wizarding World of Harry Potter to be used for Halloween Horror Nights, because she doesn't want her characters used this way by Universal. She has a very tight control of her properties. And this is also completely wrong. This is not true at all. Rowling has never made any such stipulation. The stipulation has come from Warner Brothers, which makes the Harry Potter movies. In fact, they have interfered in the past. You may not be aware of this, but this is absolutely true, and you can go ask people who are involved with the attraction at Wizarding World. The Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey attraction was changed from the original concept because Warner's thought it would be too scary for children. There's a scene in there where you meet the Dementors, and the ride attraction tilts upwards. There's a couple of Dementors lurking above you, trying to get you, and then Harry comes along with his Patronus and saves you. What you may not realize is that when the ride tilts up, what you were supposed to see wasn't just a couple of Dementors. There were like 50 Dementors swirling all the way up into a very, very high, something like 15-20 foot ceiling above you, and it looked like an infinite number of Dementors were swirling down, coming down on top of you before Harry comes to save you. And Warner's thought that was just too damn scary. As a matter of fact, this has actually been built. Every one of those Dementors is in the ride right now. When you ride that They're there above you. You just can't see them because all the black lights that will illuminate them and make them visible have never been used. If they wanted to turn those lights on, you would see this, oh my God! But you can't see it because they're not used. And it's because of Warner Brothers, who said, oh my God, we don't want to frighten children at Wizarding World. We will not allow Halloween Horror Nights there. No, you can't do it. Now, Rowling didn't even know about this. In the past few months, she's gotten more active online with Pottermore. And because of Pottermore, on her website, a fan had asked her, gee, why can't you allow Universal to have a Halloween Horror Nights attractions and events at the Wizarding World in Orlando? And that shocked, it wasn't really shocked her, it surprised her because she hadn't heard this. And said, what? You know, she was like, wait, what? What are you saying? And she actually became a little bit irate because, you know, she's being attributed to something that she never did. As a matter of fact, J.K. Rowling likes Halloween. She loves the holiday. She celebrates it herself. She's included it in the Harry Potter books. She wrote the books, in fact, to be scary. The later books especially are rather dark and frightening. The movies were too, to some degree. So she has no problems with this. And she thinks it's stupid. If they ever had Islands of Adventure used for Halloween Horror Nights, to have Wizarding World cut off and not used. That would be like, okay, this is the best attraction, we're going to sell it, but you're not going to use it for the event, so you won't go there. To her, that's dumbass. Come on. You want to promote Harry Potter during Halloween, especially when it's magic and wizards and, you know, to her it was counterproductive. So she contacted Warner Brothers, to whoever it was who makes these decisions, and said, look, you might want to seriously reconsider telling Universal they can't use the Wizarding World if they ever do another Halloween Horror Nights event at Islands of Adventure again. Because I like the idea. And if you decide that they're not going to be allowed to do that, I may have to seriously reconsider Warner Brothers' involvement in my future film projects. You know, that kind of made them back down right away. And they called up Universal and said, hey, okay, we're going to let you use that. If you ever decide to have HHN at IOA again, go ahead, you can use Harry Potter. So they are free and clear to use the entire park except for Seuss Landing. And every event they ever did there quite successfully from 2002 to 2005, you know, all they had to do was do the fog thing. So they don't have a problem with that. So it is going to be at IOA again this year. Oh my God. That's right. Now, you may be wondering, what's the theme? Oh, people love to know the theme. On Facebook, they're always asking, what's the theme? What's the theme? Well, you theme queens, there's been a couple of big rumors about what the theme might be already. One seems pretty damn obvious, you know, the whole Mayan 2012 doomsday prophecy. The other is some people have been thinking, well, it's Halloween 22, last year 21 was for gambling and Lady Luck, so 22 must mean 2. If it's not 2 parks, it's 2 icons, twins, twin icons, what a neat idea. Well, Universal would not use twin icons. I'll tell you that right now. They won't do twin icons for a very important reason. Howl-O-Scream had twin icons just a couple years ago. Remember the Raven twins? Especially after last year with there being 2 Edgar Allan Poe houses at both events. They're not going to do anything that makes it look like they're imitating their lesser competitor. No, they want to be the leader, not the follower. Howl-O-Scream imitates them, not the other way around. They're not going to have twins. Even though twins could fit in with the Mayan apocalypse pretty easily. If you don't believe me, just Google Mayan legends and twins and you'll see. But that legend is pretty obscure, so. Now, they have another idea, a rather cool idea, and this has actually been partially leaked. Yeah. For the first time since The Crypt Keeper back in 1995, they're going to have a celebrity icon. Rather than an original created icon from A&D, they're going to have a established pop culture celebrity icon for this year. Who? Well, gee, somebody had already said they're getting involved with Halloween Horror Nights this year. Who was that? Said so in the press. Penn Jillette. That's right, Penn and Teller, the magicians, will become the icons for Halloween Horror Nights 22. And as a goof, a parody of the whole Mayan Prophecy Doomsday 2012 thing, the event will be titled Penn and Teller's Apocalypso. And I'm running out of time again.